Please welcome back to the stage, Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Thanks again. It has been more than 9 months since Russia invaded Ukraine, and as the war enters what is now the winter months, many in the capital of Kiev are without power. The Ukraine president now warning that Russia is preparing further strikes on energy infrastructure. President Zelensky joins us now virtually from an undisclosed location, and we want to thank him so very much for being here. And we want to incorporate all of you into this conversation, so I promise we're going to get to questions in just a little bit with the president. President, thank you so much for joining us.
With pleasure. Thank you so much.
We have so many questions, and we just spent some time with the Treasury Secretary. Typically, this is the question I would ask at the end of the interview, but it's really, I think, the question on everybody's mind, so I'm going to start with it, if you'd indulge me, which is you have been doing heroic work and have defied all of the odds thus far, but I think everybody really wants to know how this ends and how you think it realistically can end. If you were to look at this in a not necessarily perfected world, but in the world that we live in as it is, what happens?
First of all, we are realists. As realists, we know that we are neighbors to the Russian Federation, so that is not an ideal world for you. I was saying that our win cannot bring us an ideal world. We have a war, and we are not the only ones who have the war. This is the biggest war in the European continent in the aftermath of those wars of the last century. And what is used here is not just heavy weapons. There's a lot of torture, a lot of rapes, and unfortunately, if I'm speaking so calmly, it doesn't mean I feel calm about it. And for a long time, also, their continuous missile strikes at our territory. This will end when we achieve a victory or when the Russian Federation decides they want it. It may happen that they will only decide to end the war if they feel they are weak, they are isolated, and they don't have any partners on that. Well, let us have faith that this will end in the next few months.
Let's talk about the cost of this war and how you're going to fight it this winter. On November 15th, the Biden administration submitted a new aid request of $37.7 billion, which, if passed, would bring the total amount that the U.S. Has provided in assistance to $105.5 billion. We're going to be speaking with former Vice President Mike Pence a little bit later, and there has been a sentiment among Republicans who now control the House in the United States, from Kevin McCarthy, who've said there should not be a blank check. What do you tell them?
We are absolutely open, and we are thankful for the assistance that the United States have provided. First of all, I'm thankful to the people of the United States. I don't think there is a concept of Republicans or Democrats during the war. There is the people, the society that make the election, they elect the representatives, and the people gave them their respect and authority. Likewise, the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian society, who respect freedom and independence, and it's not quite correct to speak about 100 billion as a value of the war for the United States. The value is lives of people, our citizens, first of all, and citizens of some other countries. Our people are fighting for our shared values for freedom and democracy, not just in Ukraine, but in the whole world, because if Ukraine does not stand through this war, the war will spread into other territories and maybe even to other continents. Our people is the biggest value. Tell me how much our people cost. I don't know.
I don't mean to put a cost on lives, because there is none. The reason I ask is because here in the United States, there is a big debate, as you know, about that assistance. There have been articles in the New York Times very recently about anxieties among military personnel in the U.S. that they're not able to provide assistance, frankly, to Taiwan and to other places because so many of those weapons are moving to you. How should they think about that balance, if there is one?
First of all, I heard the end of your conversation with the Secretary of the Treasury, and you said that the situation in Ukraine, let's say, it's how can it can be assessed as a rehearsal of a war or some conflict between China and Taiwan. Excuse me, once again, I would like to say this is not correct. You cannot compare wars, and especially in modern conflicts. Today, there is no full-scale war between China and Taiwan, and I want to greet the world on this occasion, all the nations, all the countries about this, and I generally greet all those on the territory of any country where there is no war. In order to feel this, you have to understand, to be here and feel what the war is. With all my respect to anybody, I just wish everybody to have peace. In Ukraine, since 2014, in every family, in every household, something has happened. Somebody was killed or wounded, or some people had to flee from their homes or lost a job. This is what we have been feeling. It's not somebody's fault, except for the Russian Federation and their aggression. But in order to stop that aggression, we need to do something. It doesn't matter who, which party, which political figure speaks about it. Well, I think that what matters is we need to do everything in order to stop that war.
We're going to be speaking with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel a bit later, and I understand that a delegation from Ukraine has been lobbying Israel for help. Thus far, they have rebuffed Kiev's request for defense weapons, missile defense systems, which has been, I think, what you've been asking for. And the refusal, I think, is related to Jerusalem's attempt to maintain ties with Moscow due to Russia's control of Syrian airspace. What do you tell Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and what's the state of those conversations? Have you had them?
Thank you for asking. I had one conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu since the moment he became the Prime Minister of Israel again. I mean, returned to this office. What can I say? Of course, we are waiting for support from Israel for our country. We wouldn't want Netanyahu and Legi, those who were before him, we don't want them to continue balancing between Ukraine and Russia in this war. It's just it's not just a misunderstanding, it's a bloody war, especially after hundreds, 550 at this time of Iranian drones against our country and to hit our critical infrastructure. He knows this very well. He knows every detail, and he certainly can help us with air defense systems. There is nothing special here. This is not an attacking weapon against the Russian Federation. So let's not look for a compromise. It's about defending the people. If he just wants to maintain his personal relations with President Putin, then of course he may continue to do what he's been doing. But if he wants to maintain historical relationship between Israel and the Ukrainian people, then I think you have to do everything you can in order to save as many people as possible. That's my personal opinion. And one other thing, one other nuance in answer to your first question, I personally believe that we all, you and me, and the people, and the journalists in general should be very careful with those messages that Russian Federation is trying to promote and impose on us. We want to see where that assistance went, how it was spent. We are very open. Please check, please inspect. But as you do this, let's not slow down any procedures. I think if we are partners, we are partners. This is my perspective.